Welcome to the Magical Melting Pot podcast series that celebrates America's diversity through food, where leading culinary experts share their stories, cultures, and career journeys. Hi, everyone. I'm very happy to be interviewing Natalia Roman today. Her family owns the only Paraguayan restaurant in New York. It's called I Love Paraguay and is in Queens. It has great food and ambience, and it got a terrific review from the New York Times. The restaurant has introduced many New Yorkers to a great cuisine they had known little about. Welcome, Natalia.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much.
So can you share with us when you came to the US and what were your favorite childhood memories of food in Paraguay or when you returned on visits?
Sure. So my mother and I made the first trip to New York, and we came in April of 2000. And soon after, my brother and my father followed along, but my mother and I made first the trip. And it's really hard to tell what is my favorite childhood food memory because I really love every Paraguayan food. But if I must say, I will say the soups. I love the soups. And it's kind of weird because, Paraguay is in a very hot part of the world, so it's constantly hot, but the soups are amazing. So soups are probably my favorite. And then I would say the ham and cheese empanadas. And yeah.
Great. I know I had an empanada at the restaurant and I loved it. It was delicious. Everything about it was great. So can you describe the key characteristics of Paraguayan food and how it differs from countries around it like Argentina or Brazil, that some people may be more familiar with it? Like, as you said, they wouldn't have guessed that soup would be such an important part of the culture. Also, I know in the New York Times article, they talked a lot about cheese, and I think it was even Munster cheese as an important ingredient. And then lastly, I know beef is incredibly important in Uruguay and Argentina. And is that an important part of the food culture as well?
So I would say that the main ingredients for the Paraguayan food is corn and corn flour. We use that a lot in most of our food, and cheese as well. As the New York Times article mentioned, Munster cheese is what we use here, but that's what is the replacement that we use for the Paraguayan cheese, which is we are unable to get it here because they're not allowed to be exported here. So throughout many trials and errors, trying different cheeses, we decided that the Munster cheese is the most similar one that doesn't change a lot the flavors of our food. So Munster cheese definitely, and the corn and corn flour. I will also say the yuca is also a very traditional. You will find it in every Paraguayan table, yuca.
So how is the yuca? Oh, sorry. Was the yuca, is it steamed? Is it fried? Or you'd make it in many different ways?
That's a very good question. In Paraguay, we really like it steamed or boiled. So we don't like it fried. We eat it here fried, but it's mostly boiled yuca.
Okay,
and I think we make a lot of different foods with it. For example, we make the yuca empanadas out of the yuca vegetable as well. So it's different kind of food that we also make out of the yuca.
Yeah, yuca is one of the most popular ingredients around the world, but it has different names. So I think in some countries it's called cassava. And others manioc, or I don't know, maybe manioc is a...
Yeah, that's what we call it. We call it here yuca because most of other Latin cultures call it yuca, but in Paraguay, we call it mandioca.
Great. And so what are some of the other dishes that are really popular, like on your menu? Well, there might be a difference between what Americans order and what people from Paraguay order when they come to the restaurant.
I just want to address the second part of your question about the similarities across the countries with Brazil, Argentina, and Paraguay. We all share similarities, especially with the asado. So asado is something very traditional that we like to make when the families around, friends are around. It's like a huge event for all of us. So that is a similarity that we have. I will say the yuca or the mandioca between Brazil and Paraguay, similarities. With Argentina, I would say the empanadas, we share a lot of those common. They make it differently. Sometimes the dough inside, the filling of the empanadas, but nevertheless, we also have empanadas like Argentina and Chile. So Definitely that. So one of the food that they order a lot here at the restaurants, the Paraguayans, are the chipawasu, chipa almidón, chipasoo, the mbeyu, but at the same time, we try to make the Americans or any other cultures, when they come here, we explain what they are and that why they shouldn't try, because we don't have a lot of other options or different, like we don't serve American food and Paraguayan food. We only serve Paraguayan food. So when they come, we ask them if they want to try, we explain what they are. And so we usually start with the empanadas. So we have a little tray of different flavors of empanadas, and they start with that so they can try the cheese, the chicken, the beef, and have a try of that. And then we introduce them, depending on the weather, maybe the soups, and they really enjoy the soups. And then we'll start with the meats. So for example, milanesa or the marinera, things like that.
Can you talk a little bit also about the asado? Is that like a parrillada in Argentina with the grilled meats that the family enjoys? Is it similar?
Yes, so the parrillada is the same thing. We all call it asado, but here in America it's known for parrillada. Asado is like a whole event, like I was mentioning. So we all have different styles of cooking. Some people like to cook it, for example, they dig a hole in the ground and they cook underground. Sometimes they build these little houses where they cook the meat inside there. There are different ways of cooking asado, but the similarities is that it brings people together. So if you're gonna have a birthday or if you're having any kind of function, we always have asado. So first we cook the chorizo, then we bring like the chipawasu and the sopa paraguaya, and then later on comes the meat. And it's like a whole day event, and you kind of eat the whole day throughout the day. So that's how we like to eat asados.
That's funny. And is that on holidays, or do you do it on Sundays? Like, how often do you do that?
It's mostly done on the weekends, so probably like a Saturday and Sunday, because it's a whole process. But you can also make it quick. You just throw meat in the grill, you can have an asado. But if you want to have the full thing, like first the chorizo, then the meat, and then you have the salads, and then you all sit together and enjoy, and you cook a little more, and it's like a whole day.
Okay, great. And then can you explain a little bit about the drinks, in particular the mate? I know you have a lot of very interesting hot and cold beverages in the restaurant. So I'm wondering if you can touch on that. And also you're known for your desserts and maracuja, which is passion fruit. I think you've got a very spectacular passion fruit mousse, but can you talk a little bit about both the beverages as well as the desserts?
Sure. So again, another similarity with South America, the countries are the mate, which is the hot drink. Argentina, they drink a lot, even when we have in Brazil, the same way. But the only drink that is cold that we have in Paraguay is called tereré. We drink this in the summer all day long. When it's water, ice, and then some juice. So there are plants, some plants are good, for example, for indigestion, for your heart, for headaches. So I like to throw those noodles inside the water with ice. And then in the wampa, we put yerba mate. Again, this is something that you can drink it on your own, but people prefer to drink it at least between two people. So you want to have friends over, you say, hey, you want to come over to have some tereré, and the next thing you have like 10 friends with you having tereré. You can see people walking around the street holding their own thermos and the wampa because it's so hot. So it's a way of keeping you fresh and throughout the hot days in Paraguay.
Oh, that's great. And it's interesting because Paraguay it's landlocked, correct? You're really not near the sea. I don't know if you're near a river, but does that affect the foods? You talked a lot about corn. I know I had the delicious corn souffle that you make, but is there anything relative to the geography that affects the cuisine?
So generally we don't have seafood in there. So if we do, it's not fresh like in the other countries. But we do have rivers, and we have a fish that is called surubí, which is the fish from the sweet waters or from rivers, not salty. So there's not a lot of geography food that it changes because of the geography. We eat the same food across the different states in Paraguay. So maybe I want to add something about the traditional foods that sometimes we have. For example, in June, we have on San Juan, during the third week in June, we have traditional San Juan. It's celebrated across the country. And it's a party that lasts the whole week. And they have different games. All schools, they do it. So they kind of close the schools and they have different kind of games throughout the school. And they also have food. For example, payagua mascada is something traditional that they eat during San Juan. Because June is kind of winter in Paraguay, so they drink a lot of cocido during that time. And with chicharrón huiti, which is made out of pork with a little, it's not a sauce, it's like a flour kind of thing. I'm not sure how they make the flour, but it's very traditional. And they also make it with mbejú. So mbejú and cocido, it's traditional to have during those times. And then during Easter, it's a huge tradition that every family make chipa almidón with their families. So you will see that everyone is making chipa almidón. That's when we get the most orders here at the restaurant and for chipa almidón during Easter time.
And explain it again, what chipa marrón is.
Yeah, the chipa almidón is like a donut. It's made of the yuca corn flour, and it has cheese and milk, and it's baked. And it's like a donut. It's round, it's white, and it's very good to eat it with, to drink it with cocido, for example, the Paraguayan tea.
Okay, and you only have it certain times of year? It's not.
We have a restaurant throughout the year, but it's traditional to have it during Easter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So now, can you just going back? I wanted to just familiarize people with what Paraguayan cuisine is like, because I think most people are not familiar. But what made your family decide to open a restaurant? And can you talk about how it evolved over the years? I believe I read that it started as a bakery.
Yeah, that's right. So as you know, and everyone knows, this is the only Paraguayan restaurant. And when we started, we actually started with a deli in Westchester. That was back in 2004. And it was a very small place. We only had 3 tables outside. And we really started the business because we really wanted to eat our own food and we didn't have anywhere to go. And either we go to visit some other Paraguayan houses if we wanted to have other kind of Paraguayan food, or we had to cook it at home. And it was very difficult to do all this food every day at home. And we noticed that everyone felt like that the more we talk and get to know people here, they say, oh, I wish I could have a place where I can go have my soups or the empanadas or the different kind of dishes that we serve here. And that's where we say, why we don't open a deli or a restaurant where we can serve our own food? Because the closer that we got was, okay, we all excited to go to Argentina restaurant on a weekend where we can have asado. And that's very similar to Paraguay, but they never had a whole Paraguayan menu. So we decided to open that in 2004. And then 2 years later, we sold it. And in 2007, we opened here in Sunnyside. And as you mentioned, we started as a bakery. And slowly we grew into what we are now. The bigger change that we made to the restaurant was in 2011, where we renovated the whole front of the restaurant and the tables, and we added the images. And most recently, we added the flowers inside, as you can see here in the background. These are called Santa Ritas in Paraguay. I'm not sure what's the name of it in English, but if you are in Paraguay, especially during springtime, you can see these flowers across the houses. Everyone has it. It's very traditional to see this in Paraguayan houses. So that's why we decided to add this during springtime and at the restaurant.
Nice. Okay, so you know what? I'm looking up. They are Santa Rita flowers. So I'm not quite sure. It looks a little bit like bougainvillea here in the US. But yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's such a happy restaurant. And with COVID and your portion you have out on the street, it's just so colorful and fun. It's just a happy occasion. So exactly. That's great. So gradually the menu just kept expanding, but it looks like because you have a takeout section, a lot of nice pastries and desserts. So it looks like you kept some of the baking aspects to it.
Definitely. mother has a master in bakery, so she's very passionate about the dessert side. So she's the one that started making all the desserts. Obviously now she has help in the kitchen, but all the desserts are her recipes. And as you mentioned, the mousse de maracuyá is very delicious and people enjoy that a lot, as well as the torta tres leches. I know we have torta tres leche in other countries like República Dominicana and all the other countries, but the one we make is Paraguayan style. It has the dulce de leche, which is from Paraguay. And my mom adds these different fruits in there, and people really seem to enjoy the torta tres leche, as well as the flan and budín. And sometimes we make bollo. It's not available all the time. But if you mention to a Paraguayan bollo de San Bernardino, for example, they'll be like, oh my goodness, I want to have that. And I don't even know how to explain it. You have to come and try it. It's a round, and it's sometimes the filling can be out of cream, dulce de leche, or guava, dulce de guava.
Oh boy, it sounds so delicious. So who are most of your customers? Are they Paraguayans? Are they Americans who just like adventurous eating? I'm guessing you have a mix, but I'm just curious. Or if like more and more word of mouth is spreading and you're getting more people to try, because I think people like trying a cuisine they've never had before.
That's right. So at the beginning, because no one knew about Paraguayan food, obviously most of our customers were Paraguayan. But I will say that after the New York Times article, everybody was more interested to come and try, and they will come from different parts of New York. And yeah, definitely after the New York Times article, we have different kind of customers. Sometimes could be some Colombian or Mexicans, and even the Latin countries customers are coming to try. But yes, it's a mix right now. Okay. But still, most of them are Paraguayan. And I will say that we hear that the Paraguayan people that are coming to visit us are also coming, for example, from Boston, or they're coming from Miami. They're literally traveling to come and see us, because you don't find this in Miami or California. So everybody that is coming from out of state, they come directly here to visit first, and then they go explore New York City. That's what they tell us.
That's awesome. Okay, so I just have one last question really, which is, if listeners want to travel to Paraguay, what are some of the things you suggest they do when they go?
That's an excellent question as well. So Paraguay doesn't have like the amazing building and places like that to go see, but we have a lot of untouched natural places. So it's ideal for hiking, camping. There's a lot of natural places that you can go visit. For example, the Ruinas Jesuíticas, or different hiking areas, and a lot of natural and outdoor activities.
And then where do you get the best food? Where would you recommend? Should they go to? I know I was in Montevideo. I don't know if Uruguay is very similar to Paraguay, but I had the most amazing meat in the markets. They were just little restaurants within the indoor market, and it was incredible. So delicious.
That is a very good question, actually, but I came to the United States when I was very young, and I don't know the best places to go there now, but my parents will know, but they're not here right now.
Okay.
Let me think. I cannot come up with the name of a restaurant or a place to go, but
yeah,
you know, they're really good everywhere you go in Paraguay. When I go visit, they have food trucks some places, or even if they're selling down the street from your house, empanadas, they're amazing. I will definitely recommend Don Vito, the empanadas from Don Vito. They are my favorite, and they're a franchise in Paraguay. You can have their empanadas there as well.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, and lastly, if people want to get in touch with you, or they want to learn more about the restaurant, I guess they can look up I Love Paraguay in the New York Times, or go to your website. And any other suggestions?
Yeah, I will say Facebook and Instagram. We're very active there. So if you want to send us a message, or if you need anything, feel free to send us a message through Instagram and Facebook. Yeah.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to come back and try more food. I actually want to come with a big group so I can try lots of different things. But it's a very happy, fun place and very delicious and very fresh and real home cooking. And it's what you really want in a restaurant. It's great. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And I hope to see you all here one day.